Welcome to the FanDuel Punch Out. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at the FanDuel 9-game slate for 7 o'clock and later. And with the top price pitching options, we kind of got to dig a little deeper for value. But, it's relatively there, and you feel pretty comfortable about it.
Yeah, it seems doable. There seems to be something at every position, especially if you're paying up. I mean, for Chris Sale tonight, that's pretty much the elephant in the room here.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at catcher, I think it's pretty easy to kind of pay down tonight. I
Yeah.
think Vogue at 2,300 is kind of where I'm looking at to just immediately punt and kind of get some good exposure to Nova, who struggles against lefties. And Vogue's a guy to just kind of go out there and get the job done.
Yeah, and Yan Gomes, 2,700. I think that's a great value. Obviously, you look at DraftKings, and he's the highest priced catcher on the slate. So, I think he's in a great spot tonight, and someone you should be looking at.
Yeah, he carries a little more points per dollar value here on FanDuel, which is nice, especially with how hot he's been of late.
Right, and with Vote at 2,300, I don't really see the need to go lower. You know.
Yeah, there was Tyler Flowers was a guy you were looking at against the lefty lock. Is he more kind of contrarian now because he's priced so close?
Right. There, it was 300 or 400 on DraftKings, but this is they're right next to each other. Unless you really need that extra 100, which means you're really desperate, then that's fine. But yeah, he's more of a contrarian tournament punt guy.
Yeah. If you're paying up, you kind of like McCann in tournaments just because it could be a different move.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, not much to there. And first base here, kind of a couple of price differences. I like Belt more so on DraftKings, but he's the most expensive guy here. Abreu, I think he's a great GPP play tonight. I'm just looking to really attack McHugh in this ballpark, and just with how bad he's struggling, I just think this White Sox lineup really 1 through 5 is in a great spot.
Definitely agree there. He's probably my top play on at first base for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then Votto, 400 less, not a bad option with him. Tomlin, incredibly home run prone against both sides of the plate. I think the Cincinnati team just really offers a ton of value, and they're kind of a value stack if you consider it.
Definitely agree there. I think we're looking at JSO 3,100. That's a pretty solid value for Pittsburgh tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Great cash game guy. A sizable difference from guys like Votto and Abreu, so you can save some cash there if you want to go balanced. And Fulton Newitz, 412 WOBA to lefty since 2014, a big 2.22 home runs per 9. So, Jason kind of just stands out leading off as one of the top values on the slate for me.
And he kind of pushes down the rest of the options here. Teixeira is pretty cheap, but he's not in a perfect matchup, so that's kind of tough. Are you looking at anyone down low? Billy Butler, 2,200.
No, I think Jason's probably about as low as I'm going to go.
Yeah.
So, catcher kind of frees up that. I think that's the only spot where I truly need to punt at.
Right.
Second base here, Jason Kipnis comes in. I guess underpriced for tonight's matchup. 3,600 just seems like a steal for him in Cincinnati against Edelman there.
Yeah, I think you're really looking at Indians tonight, at least starting off with Kipnis and Gomes. You can pay up at pitcher and still afford them. So I think that's a great start.
Yeah. And if you want to look lower, Brandon Phillips in that same game, 2,800. Tomlin reverse splits. As I mentioned, home run prone. 1.89 home runs per 9 to righties, 357 WOBA allowed since 2014.
Yeah.
The ERA looks good. In the 5-0, but really he just hasn't been a good pitcher this year. And I think a blow-up game is definitely in potential for him tonight.
Yeah, I like that call. And while Gordon Beckham paid off yesterday, sorry, buddy, can't do it tonight again.
No Gordon Beckham. You're not going back to the well.
I can't go back to the well, man. I only go back to the well with stacks that don't hit for me, like the Cubs. So,
AKA the Cubs. I don't mind him as a punt option. 2,400. It's still a decent difference from Phillips, but obviously Phillips is in a better ballpark, kind of a better matchup there.
Right.
Looking at third base, up top, I'm a big fan of Todd Frazier. I know you're kind of liking Donaldson. There's a nice little price difference from there, about 500.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how different the slate is, site to site tonight. But when you look at Frazier, Lesson Arenado, I think that's a solid play. Like you mentioned, you're on them and the White Sox tonight. Carpenter kind of stands out in that tier as the guy I'm probably not going to be having many shares of because I actually like Gray tonight. So out of those three, I'm probably not going to be touching Carpenter.
Yeah, I agree. And we were kind of talking about some mid-value plays, and two third basemen I think really stood out as Jung Ho Kang and Danny Valencia.
Mm.
I mean, Valencia is absolutely on fire, and then you got Kang. I mean, in a good spot in this Pirates team that does have 4.5 run total tonight, one of the few that do. And Kang, I mean, solid against right-handers, and you look at Fulton notes, and yes, he's pitched well over the last two games, but there's not really numbers to back that up that it'll continue.
Right. And I think cheap option for a Pittsburgh stack, David Freese. If you're kind of looking down low for real relief.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of prefer him over kind of everyone in that range there. I mean, there's not really a lot low. Like, I think you can really sit in that 3K range.
Yeah, and again, we mentioned Chris Coughlin, but it's not a perfect matchup. But he is 2,200 as a pure punt, so
Yeah, and Nova, I mean, struggled against lefties. So, I mean, you're looking at kind of a lot of those A's lefties, and Coughlin would certainly be a salary relief guy. Looking up at shortstop and Lindor, I mean, just that's a big time price difference from guys like Seager and Correa there, and even Story. I mean, you put him next to Kozar. I mean, Lindor is just kind of the easy choice there at 3,500.
Man, yeah, I'm loving the Indians here. I think you can roll out a really strong lineup with them. Correa, sorry, buddy, not against Sale. Seager, man, I just think Lindor is such a better value than the top guys tonight.
Yeah, I mean, great ballpark, great matchup against Edelman, and just price considered. I mean, you pop him and Kipnis in, you're getting great exposure to one of the top teams on the night, and it's not the bad price tag.
Right.
I know you like Rollins, guy at 3K if you need to save a little bit extra. I think with that run total for the White Sox tonight, Rollins has been, reliable in cash games, especially of late.
Yeah, and I mean, beyond that, this ain't a 15-game slate, folks.
Yeah, you're not getting much down low, and that's where I think just sitting in that 3K range after Vogel's just seems to be the way to go, especially if you're paying up for Sale.
Definitely.
So, outfield here, and we were talking not many price guys that we want to pay up for tonight. Adam Eaton continuing that White Sox trend at 4K seems to be about as high as I'm going to go.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Just a lot of the top guys aren't in great spots tonight. I mean, obviously, if you're doing a Pirate stack, McCutchen in play, and obviously Marte as well. They're actually pretty reasonable. But other than that, I don't think you're really looking up there, especially if you're going Sale.
Yeah, definitely. And Polanco, I mean, 3,900 carries much better points per dollar value in comparison to DraftKings. He's one of those price differences, and it's kind of the same thing with Jay Bruce. He's a little more expensive, a little more points per dollar worth on DraftKings in comparison to FanDuel.
Right.
So, I mean, you can look down low. I think there are some good, like Jacoby Ellsbury, 3,100 for a guy who's hitting very solid of late. I think he's a great cash game play just because of that price and the matchup there.
Definitely. Yep. He's been playing good, and 3,100 again, another guy in that low 3K range that is a solid value.
Yeah, so you can kind of just go across the board there. Billy Hamilton was a guy we kind of talked about, and more of a kind of if you're doing the red stack is where he works his way into.
Definitely. And not touching any Cardinals tonight, probably against Gray. Unless you see something and you don't like Gray, but I believe we both do, correct?
Yeah, I like Gray tonight. I think he's a great GPP arm. I mean, been very tough, especially over the last few games. And I mean, this guy, big strikeout rate. I just don't think. I mean, I know some of these Cardinals bats are cheap, like Matt Holliday.
Yeah,
but it's a tougher matchup. I really prefer staying in that range up top, kind of that 3K. I mean, Trace Thompson for the Dodgers is a guy 3,100. I definitely don't mind tonight.
Yeah, I think the transparency of me staring at Matt Holliday's price again for the last few days, I mean, it's just consistently down there on FanDuel now. So probably not the night to target him, I don't think.
Yeah, and one guy we kind of glossed over, 3,300, Michael Saunders. Great spot for him against Irvin Santana. Once
Mm,
again, another kind of mid-range 3K type player, and Santana 338 Woba to lefty since 2014. The way Saunders has produced and keeps producing in that lineup, one of the few consistent Jays bats we actually get.
definitely.
So that's going to wrap things up with the FanDuel Punch Out. Be sure to check out DailyFantasyCafe.com for all our great tools and content.